Hello, good day, business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and corporations. Welcome to the Black Business Network. My name is Dionysia. I am your business moderator for this session of the Black Business Network. The Black Business Network is a 24-hour business network showcasing Black businesses, business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders worldwide. We have speakers from North Carolina, London, Singapore, Africa, Japan, and cities all over the United States. The Black Business Network is a global community sharing business knowledge to empower, inspire, and educate businesses about business. Today, we are with Edward L. Fairley. Meet Edward L. Fairley, founder and CEO of No Love Inc., relationship strategist, podcast host, and creator of the No Love board game simulation. With over 20 years of marriage and a deep passion for transforming how we connect, Edward brings fresh, research based insights to relationship coaching. He's the author of the Handbook for Increasing Your Relationship IQ and host of the No Love podcast, where he breaks down love, communication, and connection in real, relatable ways. For Edward, love isn't just a feeling, it's a strategy for success. I present to you Edward L. Fairley.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well, and yourself?
And yourself? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking.
Thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
for joining us.
Peace is common,
It's
and I'll see
common,
you.
and I'll see you.
So, to
So,
open the
in the
conversation,
conversation,
we talk about understanding
talk
the
about
connection
understanding
between
the
love
connection.
and business.
Do
Do you have anything that you want
you
to
have
share on
anything that
that
you want to
for
share on
our
that?
questions?
No, I think when we go into this topic, is going to get real, and we'll probably pivot and let's let it organically happen. Let's do it.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so for starters, you emphasize
You
the importance of love in business. Why do you
business,
believe personal and professional relationships
professional
are so
relationships.
important?
So I think they're the same thing. Uh, I don't think they're different. And actually, it throws me off when people think that they're different. I'll give an example. If you were to go to a funeral, those who speak about the person, they typically are colleagues, they're typically family members, they're typically those who they speak to or communicate with often. And the essence of that person that they're speaking to or about, they're the same. People nod their heads, they laugh about the same jokes about the person because that was brought into all of those respective spaces. So that person in business or in personal, the essence of them, their default setting ultimately is going to be the same. That doesn't change. You still with me?
Okay. So for my next
So my
question,
next question,
how do
how do
unresolved emotional
resolve
issues show
emotional
up in a
issues show
person's
up in
business
a
or
person's
professional
business
life?
or professional life? That's a good question. So, unresolved emotional issues influence the way in which you respond to life. You actually move from the lens of your personal life. What you consume is what comes out of you. So what you have going on in your personal life is just going to be a direct reflection of how you look through the lens of your life. So at work, if you're seeing things in a negative light, you'll receive things negatively. If you're looking at things from a loving light, you'll be able to, or you will receive things from a loving lens, which in turn, it actually causes you to respond according to how you are internalizing in filtering the information that you're receiving. So that's how emotional issues show up in your personal business. So if you have a lot of trauma, or if you're looking through the lens of trauma, everything is going to be traumatic. So you need to resolve that so that you're not feeling attacked, especially when you're not being attacked.
Right. That's some good
So good.
information. What are some common ways entrepreneurs and business leaders sabotage their success due to relationship struggle?
Mm. Um, so your relationship struggles are the fruit of your relationship with yourself. So how you sabotage that is by bringing your, what's the word I want to use? Your insecurities, your issues, your low self-esteem, you bring that to the table, which in turn that actually sabotages your success. And it drastically causes issues with relationships and even your business model, how you approach
Okay. Can a lack of love and emotional fulfillment in your personal life impact decision making in business?
it. Most certainly. So the lack of love and emotional fulfillment drastically impacts decision making. We can take it as far as self-worth. If you don't feel self-worth or if you don't feel valued, your product, you won't even be able to add value to your product. Your pricing will be way off. I can't charge them that. I can't put the part that there because you don't feel your worth or your value. So because of that, that translates to how your products are, how they look, how you present your business, your brand in itself. So if you lack value, that will be what your company lacks.
And see, I've heard that comment from so many of my colleagues.
That's
Is
awesome.
when they talk about price, they're not comfortable charging what their service is worth, and then
Mhm.
in the end they feel jaded or like have a negative attitude towards the service or product that they're offering because they know they're not getting what they're worth, but they won't ask for it. So thank you
Oh
for
wow.
sharing. What are some key I'm sorry, let me get myself together. What are some key traits that make someone great in both business and their personal relation?
Key traits that make someone great at both business and personal relationships is effective communication.
Okay.
So, and there's it's kind of effective communication is threefold. One is having a vocabulary. A lot of people don't have a vocabulary. So if vocabulary is the bridge to get your thought across and you don't have enough words to do that, then you can't communicate a thought. So I'll say part A of that same thing is people not having the accurate definition of the actual word that they are trying to use. So in their mind, they're thinking they're saying something. The other person is receiving it based off the proper definition. And then they get upset because they're not responding according to what they thought they said when the definition does not align with what it is that they're trying to say. So vocabulary in itself, that's twofold. Then you have gender bias. Oftentimes, we assume that because it's a woman or a man, that they're going to respond according to their gender, which in turn prevents them from communicating certain things because we assume that they're going to respond a certain way based off of their gender. That causes poor communication, as opposed to looking at that person as an individual and then just speaking to them according to what your thoughts are or feelings are, and not trying to filter it because they are what you assume a gender to be or how a gender is going to respond. And then there's the last one that's going to probably take most people that hear this aback is this assumption of this thing called common sense.
Mm,
So let's unpack the phrase common sense. So that means it's a common way of thinking. Yet your way of thinking is a result of your environmental experience, your personal experience, your education, and your family. And then through all of that, how you learn. You could be an auditory learner, you could be a verbal learner, I mean, you could be a visual learner, you could be a kinesthetic learner. So how you process, and then your critical thinking allows for you to come to certain conclusions. So with all that, we have this assumption that there's something called common sense when we don't even have the same common experiences.
Right.
And then we get upset with people assuming that they should have had the same conclusion as us, and we call it common sense, which is just our way of saying that does not need to be communicated or expressed because they know better. And then you feel disrespected or like someone just ignored your feeling because you assumed something was common sense when you had an opportunity to express what you thought was to be and see if that was really how it was interpreted. So effective communication is drastic, and probably one of the best, if not the best, way of or trait rather that that's great for both business and personal relationships.
So you mentioned 3 in the beginning of that answer, but I think technically there's 4. So there's communication, vocabulary, gender roles, and common sense. Now that common sense is a big one. That is
yeah, oh yeah,
big one. That describes so many conversations that can get out of hand, like for no reason. So, it goes all the way left real quick.
Think about it like this. What you think people know, you don't talk about. If you assume that they already know this, you won't speak about it. It's an unknown understanding or what have you. So you don't take the time to what I call inspect what you expect through the exchange. So when you think they know, there's no need to discuss that because they know. And that's how the whole gender thing happens. Or as I shared and went a little step further, the whole common sense thing comes into pass. So I remember when I was younger and we had someone from the West Coast, South Central to be exact. He came and visited us in Virginia. And it was either a week or 2 prior to the 4th of July. And we were outside, we were playing, and then someone set off some firecrackers. And this young man dove face first into some bushes. And we looked at him like he was crazy. We're all young. We laughed at him. What is wrong with you? It's just some firecrackers. We're getting close to 4th of July. People are popping off firecrackers. But to him, so common sense would tell you it's just firecrackers. It's almost 4th of July. But he's from South Central. Pop, pop, pop to him. If we were in South Central, common sense would tell us to dive into the bushes and get low to avoid being hit by a stray bullet. So common sense in one place could be something that's totally different in another place because of how your environment, how you learned, the culture and things of that nature. So again, things that we don't or we assume are understood, we don't discuss. So if you think certain things are common sense, there's so many things that are not being discussed, which leads you to feeling like you're being disrespected if they don't respond the way that you assume that they would because of what you know. I just know she or he knew that.
That was a great analogy.
Thank you.
So how can business leaders cultivate emotional intelligence to strengthen both professional and personal relationships?
It's a great question. So by paying attention to their feelings, not trusting them, paying attention to and acknowledging their feelings to understand where they are in that moment. So that they can acknowledge a component that is trying to influence their decision making. So when you have that feeling, it is basically letting you know how you're processing that information. Feelings aren't facts, so you should acknowledge them, point it out, say that this is the feeling, and then from there you can kind of process as to whether that's a accurate feeling, whether that is coming from something that has nothing to do with what's actually at stake. And then from there, you can actually make better choices, and also investigate, well, why did that trigger me? And then you can assess it better.
Okay. What's one relationship habit that can immediately improve communication in business?
So there's not really an answer to that question. And I'm going to tell you why. Because all habits are formed as a result of external experience that cause an internal emotional conclusion. So we created a habit based off of that, and we've already discussed that those habits or responses or common sense are a result of us taking information that's external and deciding that something is based off of that information. And because not everyone does that the same way, that's the reason why that doesn't have an answer to it, because everyone is an individual. But I can share some bad habits that actually can cause issues to communication in business, and personal and in business. And that is that we typically by default do not conclude that the person is doing stuff from a place of love. So because of that, we gather our information from a place of them trying to hurt us or disrespect us, as opposed to if we started from love, we could possibly find out, wow, their meaning, their intent behind this is not bad. And then we can move our way from that to saying, okay, well, maybe their intent is bad, but now I can ask a follow-up question to see and get clarity to see where I'm missing this. But my expectation is that this person is not intentionally trying to harm or hurt or disrespect me.
Okay, well, I think that answer is a great segue to the next question. What role does trust play in both love and business, and how can leaders build more of it?
Great question. Okay, so as far as the role that trust plays in both love and business, is it helps with intimacy. Intimacy is just another way of saying transparency. When you trust someone, you're willing to share your most intimate thoughts and feelings and emotions as it pertains to just life in general. But I think getting to a place where you can trust yourself is more important than making trust a determining factor as to whether you go into business with someone or even going into a relationship with someone. And the reason why I say that is because I cannot trust you with money, but that doesn't mean I don't trust you in general. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and if you're in a relationship, there are going to be moments where they're going to make you feel like you can't trust them. And you have to be able to compartmentalize that and say, okay, it's this thing, as we just discussed, finances, that I can't trust him or her with, but that does not make them a untrustworthy person. So that's why I say you should not make trust a determining factor as to whether I go into business with this person or if I should be in a personal relationship with them.
Okay. That was very eye-opening.
Okay. All right.
Very eye-opening. So, how do boundaries help entrepreneurs and professionals create better balance between love and work?
Mm-hmm. All right. So, boundaries and love go hand in hand. If you show me a person who loves themselves or their self rather, I will show you a person with boundaries. If you show me a person who does not love themselves, I will show you a person that has no boundaries.
Oh, wow.
So when you have love of self, you have morals, principles, and values that you will not veer from, which makes life easier because you are now determining whether this person aligns with that or not. It actually removes the person out of the equation and allows for you to make simpler decisions, because your way of living and your way of thought and decision making are based off of these principles, not off of the people that are in the situation. So that's why boundaries are, because they are an indicator that you have found love with yourself. If you don't have it, you're just moving according to people who influence your thought based off of their relationship, which has nothing to do with where you're headed, where you're going, and what your true beliefs are.
Wow, that's awesome. Very profound.
Okay.
Can you share a time when a personal relationship helped or hurt your business growth?
Share time when personal. Nah. So I have a very unorthodox way of doing relationship coaching, be it single couples, or I mean single persons or couples or married people. And I allow for them to come to my home, nothing necessarily scheduled. If I'm available, they can come. And the reason why I do that kind of goes back to what we discussed earlier. It allows for them to trust what it is that I tell them about love. I don't have a chance to fix things or dress it up if you can just stop by at any time, or try to get my family to gather themselves because we're about to have company, if you can just pop up. And the reason why I do that is because I'm not a hypocrite. What I teach is what I do and who I am, and the fruit of it follows. So I say all that to say I had a single client who opted to just spend the weekend with us. And it was midweek. She said, "Hey, I'm gonna spend. If you don't mind, can I spend the night?" Sure can. My office has a bed and everything to where that will be the guest room. She came and she just sat and observed. I didn't change my plans. I'm like, "Hey, you can come, but this is my grocery shopping day. I'll be cooking and doing all this, whatever. You can come along." So she joined me going to the grocery store. She joined me and my daughter, but came back home. She watched me cook, interact with my family. We ate, talked, then she spent some time with my children. They watched a few movies while I still had my other things that are my must do's or must haves. And with that interaction and her concluding that, hey, this is past a relationship type thing. This literally translates to his house, how he interacts with when he does business, his children, his wife, all of that. This is not something that he turns on and turns off. This is who he is, which bleeds over to his lifestyle, to where she had an epiphany and said, you know what? Now, she worked for NASA at that time. She said, I need you, because they were having issues with the camaraderie between management and the employees, and they needed to resolve it. It was really, really bad. So she had me change the verbiage of my relationship stuff to make it more corporate so that she could hire me to get into NASA to assist them with their issues, because they're not anything different. They are the same. It's just how we package it as to whether I put it to you like this. It's a difference between being smart and intelligent. Smart person will learn from a book or learn science or what have you, and they will learn that information to pass a test, to pass this science test. An intelligent person will say, okay, I learned this, but this is more than just this. This actually is life, and they're able to correlate it with things past just compartmentalizing it to that one subject matter and making it work. So that is all this is, and that's what we're discussing and unpacking right now, how I can talk about relationship all day, but I see it in every single thing, and that's what it is.
Wow.
So that's how a personal thing ended up helping in business.
That's amazing. And that had to have been an amazing opportunity.
My mother reminds me of it all the time. Did you tell him that you worked at NASA? Did you tell him? That's her go-to. Get it, son. Good job. But did you tell him that you taught at NASA? I'm like, Mom. So yes.
Awesome. And I think there's such pressure to separate personal relationship and business to where you almost feel like
Did you feel like I missed that last part?
you almost feel like you have to be two different people.
Most certainly. Oh yeah.
There needs to be such separation that you feel like you have to be two different people, and in time you can feel like you're losing your authenticity.
There you go.
So thank you for sharing that. Which leads to, what is the biggest misconception about balancing love and business?
You just said it. That they're two different things. That you got to be one thing and another. And my question to you with that is, if you think that is true, which one is you? If you think that when I go to work, I'm this, and when I come home, I'm this, when I go to the synagogue or the church or whatever, I'm this. If you have all of these masks, which one is you? Which one is your true, authentic self? And I can guarantee you, a person with all these masks is frustrated in multiple areas because there's only one or a few places that they're going to be able to find that they can be themselves. Right. And all of these other relationships are fake. They're not even real. Nor do you know whether you're truly chosen, and even worse, whether you're really loved. Because all those persons are attracted to the fictitious person that you actually presented. So now you're still in a relationship and you don't know if you've been seen, if you've been heard, and you've been accepted. The best thing to do is be yourself at all times, because that will repel those who are not for you and will attract those who are for you.
That's awesome. What are some of the common reasons that people find that difficult to do?
It's a great question. So they think that love is weak. And even more importantly, they think that love is emotion. And it's not. Love has zero to do with emotion. True love, in its essence, in its core, is mental. I'll say it like this. So if love is patience, love is kind, love does not boast, those are not things. The opposite are emotional things. You get frustrated and you're unkind. You have to be frustrated and think, that's not how I need to act right now in order for you to be kind. The opposite is emotion, is moving in emotion. To act in love, it actually is counter to actually feeling. And it allows for you to look at things objectively so that you can find opportunity to take advantage of. Emotion does not give you that. So we will try to shy away from feeling vulnerable or being vulnerable, which that's a superpower. We'll probably get into that sooner or later. So we'll keep and hoard what we think is a weakness and miss out on so many opportunities. But that's the reason why.
Okay. Bye. No. I'd like to thank you for coming and sharing so much. Man, there's so many questions I have after this.
Okay.
It's blown me away.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thank you for sharing your expertise. Can you share ways that you can get in contact with someone with like a session or to learn more about it? You have a website?
So yeah, my website is www.knowow.com. That's KNOW. loveinc.com. That is my website, so you can kind of see what it is that I do or specialize in. I have there's the No Love podcast. Again, anytime I say no and love together, I'm saying KNOW, love, back to me saying that love is not a actual feeling or emotion. It's definitely intellect and from your mind, not necessarily your emotions. So that is the way you can find me at Edward LeVar. That's what the L stands for, like LeVar Burton, LEVAR, Fairley on Facebook. I'm Edward Fairley on LinkedIn. So you can Google me and I definitely am easily found.
Hi, Mr. Fairley. Mr. Fairley or Dr. Fairley?
No, it's Mr. Fairley. I'm not a doctor. Doctors endorse my stuff, but I'm not a doctor yet.
Okay. I'm sorry, I may have jumped the gun earlier. I was informed we have time for just a few more.
Oh, I'm for it. Yes, let's go.
Okay. Are certain love languages more beneficial for business leaders to understand and apply?
Not at all. To suggest that one is better than the other is to force you to try to use that as a tool. And if I say the hammer is the best tool, you're going to try to make everything a nail.
Okay.
So you should try your best to be at least educated in all so that you can identify them and see where they benefit you in a respective situation. But not one has been more beneficial than the other at all.
Okay. In your experience, do leaders who lead with heart outperform those who lead with strategy alone?
All right. So that has to be, I got to give context to this.
Okay.
So the heart is great to use as an indicator, but it's terrible to use as a decision maker. So I can't say one is better than the other because if you're using your heart, then you could be easily deceived. But you should use your heart because it's an indicator. It says, okay, right now I'm possibly being influenced in my decision making based off of what my heart is telling me. But your heart could be wrong because your heart could be filtered through, as I shared earlier, insecurities, your life lessons, your environment, which you're consuming on a daily basis. So that could be wrong. Feelings aren't facts. So I can't stress that enough. Feelings are not facts. That's just how you feel about a specific thing. And that without the proper investigation or the proper amount of whys to figure out why you feel that way, you could really be making a poor choice, a poor decision with that information. So as you can see, in order for you, you got to acknowledge the feeling, say that that made me upset, say that that made me mad, say that that made me feel nice or what have you. And then from there, you have to move from your heart to your head to strategize on how to maneuver. So it's not one is better than the other. It's someone who has the ability to use them all to their advantage. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Basically, you need a little bit of both to be an effective leader.
Well said. I wish I said it that way. I probably would have saved it some time.
Okay, so what's your advice for someone facing heartbreak or relationship struggle while running a business?
Heartbreak or relationship struggle while running the business. I say first, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd say congratulations.
On what?
Because something has come to surface that you have to deal with. If you have issues in any kind of relationship, more than likely when it comes to the surface, that is just a result of something that's been simmering or hidden for a long period of time. So when
Okay.
it comes to a head, you can actually deal with it because more than likely you've been blind all this time to it, to where you weren't able to resolve it, to where it festered and blew up to where it was. So now you have an opportunity. You can see it for what it is, and move accordingly. And you also could learn that you were in bed, for lack of a better term, with someone you had no business being in bed with in the first place.
Yeah.
But don't get so caught up in your emotions that you miss out on the opportunities that that situation has presented you. And that's oftentimes what happens. And that's what I mean by love. It's not emotional. It's mental. And so you should definitely feel, which is not it's not it's not love. It's just a feeling. It's an indicator. It's something that lets you know something's going on. But you really have to move from your heart to your head so you can really analyze that. So it just, if you can resolve it, you have proven that you have the ability to resolve that and whatever you have at work. So that's why I say congratulations, because now you have an opportunity to show that your abilities are more than just the boardroom or more than just your relationship. Because if you can conquer that, you too can conquer the actual business issues that you're going to have. They're inevitable. So you have to get good at resolving conflict.
So I think we have time for just one more question.
Okay.
Make it a good one. What's one small step people can take today to ensure they are nurturing both their business and their personal relationships with equal care?
Doing whatever they can to fall in love with themselves.
Oh,
If
what's that
love
one?
literally conquers all, when you love yourself, everything is an opportunity. Even insults
Mm,
are an opportunity. So I'll give you a good example. So I was building something in business, and we had someone who he was lazy. It was apparent that he was lazy, and my team brought it to me. We're in the building phase of it, and he was lazy, trying to get out of work and things of that nature. And they're like, "We need to get rid of him." I said, "That is correct. We do need to get rid of him, but it's too early to get rid of him." And they're like, "What do you mean? What? How can it be too early to get rid of a lazy person?" I said, "Okay. One thing I know about lazy people, again, I'm not in my feelings. I'm in my mind. One thing I know about lazy people are they're going to try to do things the easiest way. They're going to prevent themselves from taking the long route. This man who is lazy is going to expose all the unnecessary things that we have system wise in our business because he's lazy. If he can get the job done without actually doing all the things that we have in store or set up in our systems to get the job done, he's going to figure that out. That is an asset that I'm going to utilize properly to get me where we need us to be. And then we will transition. But right now, it's too early because I need his lazy self here so he can expose all the unnecessary stuff that we have. You know how many successful businesses were successful and then a recession came or economic issue came into play? Then they had to get rid of all of these departments, but yet this business was able to sustain itself after they got rid of all these departments. That means that they did not need all those departments to run the business, and they could have been running lean all that time. But because times got hard, their imagination came and they started realizing that they were just throwing money because they had it at things that were unnecessary, which allowed for them to run their business more lean. I'd rather a lazy person do that for me. They're going to find the lean things and I take advantage of it. Again, not getting frustrated. So again, they were offended at his laziness. I was able to use my mind to realize the benefit of his laziness, use it to my advantage, and then we pivoted after that. But you can't do that when you're so caught up in your feelings and trying to be getting upset about being attacked or being disrespected or what have you. You'll miss out on opportunities that are given to you. So if you can fall in love with yourself, for one, you will pick the right people because you won't tolerate anything less. You will be intentional about how you do things, which means you have, instead of picking people based off of how you feel about them, you'll be picking people based off of your morals, principles, and values. Again, trust has nothing to do with that. It allows for you to make decisions that are beneficial to your business. It's so funny. People ask me, well, they ask me a question, I'll give them the answer. Well, what if it was your mother? I'm like, the answer stands. What if it was your daughter? The answer stands. What if it was your wife? It stands. Because I don't make decisions based off of a person. I make decisions off of morals, principles, and values, which makes life easy to do. So I'll put a period right there because I'll go off on a tangent and go way over time. But loving yourself is probably the most important step that you can do because it makes things easier and your ability to maneuver easier.
Well, Mr. Fairley, I'd like to thank you so much for coming. It was amazing. I look forward to visiting your website myself because I've learned so much just in this conversation.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate
your website one more time where people can find you.
www.knowloveinc.com. That's KNOWLOVEINC.com, or Edward LeVar Fairley on Facebook, or Edward Fairley on LinkedIn, and the No Love Podcast on YouTube.
Thank you so much. Well, this is common, and I will see you on the other side.
Take care.
Have a great one.